Hi there grade 8s and welcome once again to WorksheetCloud Maths. As you know, my name's Jo Milligan and we are starting a very new section today. First lesson in our focus on fractions. Now a lot of the beginning part of this section we are going to do revision, and it's going to be revising grade 6 and 7 fractions that you learnt in those two grades, and then we will go on from there. Okay, so let's start. The first thing is we're going to look at operations involving fractions. And in the beginning, we're just going to do some revision, as I said, on how to add fractions. And as you can see there, that's a very simplistic way. You probably even did that in grade 5, where it's the same denominators. And when you have like denominators, or the denominators are the same, you just add the numerators. So as you can see in the example, 1/5 plus 2/5 gives you 3/5. Okay? It's a little bit like algebraic expressions and equations. When you have got like terms, and in this case like denominators, you will just be able to add your numerators together. Okay, let's go on. Let's look at another example. Here we've got 4/5 plus 2/5, and we end up with 6/5, which, as you know, is an improper fraction. So we must remember to always simplify. So when you've got like denominators, you just again add the numerators as you did in the first one. But when you've got a top-heavy fraction or an improper fraction, we're going to simplify. And we'll get 1 and 1/5. What I want to say to you right up front now is every single time you get an answer, please, please, please make sure that it's in its simplest form. Okay? It must be as simple as possible. So don't just leave it as the improper fraction like 6/5. We need to make sure that it's in its simplest form always. Let's go on. What happens when we have unlike denominators? Okay, here we go. Unlike denominators, you've got to find a common multiple. And you would have probably been told in the prep school to find the lowest common multiple. You don't always have to do that. You can just multiply your denominators together. Obviously, if you do that, then you're going to have to simplify later on. If you find your lowest common multiple as your denominator, then you will probably end up with it being in the simplest form. You may still have to simplify, but there's less of a chance. Okay, let's have a look. We've got 2/8 plus 2/8 because we changed our quarter to the same denominator as the other side. And in this case, we did use the lowest common multiple because 4 goes into 8 and 8 goes into 8. So to change a quarter to 8, we say 4 times 2 gives me 8. So what 1 times 2 gives me? 2. Okay, so we have to do the same to the top as we do to the bottom. So to find our common denominator, we said 4 goes into 8 and 8 goes into 8, so we can use 8. Okay, 8 is a multiple of both, in other words. So to get from 4 to 8, we multiplied by 2. So what do we do to the top? The same as we did to the bottom, multiply by 2. And then we can just add. Okay? So as you can see, convert the one fraction so that both fractions have the same denominator. Okay, and we end up with 4/8. Again, we need to, we've added our numerators and we need to simplify. So 4/8 we know is 1/2. Remember, in order to simplify, you look at what can go into both of those, the numerator and the denominator, without a remainder. Okay, right, here's another one. What about this? We've now got whole numbers involved here. So there's two ways to do it. So let's just deal with the whole numbers first. We've got mixed numbers with unlike denominators, and we've got whole numbers. So we're going to add the whole numbers first, and we're going to come up with 3 because we went 2 plus 1 is 3. Okay, everybody with me? Then I've got to add my fractions. So what I do next, I now find a common denominator. Keep the 3 all the time. Remember, it's part of the whole calculation. So I find my common denominator as being 8. I now convert both of them to the same denominator, both fractions to have the same denominator. So a quarter is 2/8 plus 2/8, and I add those together, and I'm going to get 3 and 4/8. Okay, and that is going to then give me 3.5 because I need to simplify. Let's just go over this one again. I dealt with the whole numbers first, so I can add whole numbers together but I must remember to carry on carrying that whole number down because it is part of the calculation. Okay, I then found a common denominator and I converted my fraction that didn't have the denominator that I found to something that is the same. It is an equivalent fraction. So a quarter is the same as 2/8, as you can see there. A quarter is the same as 2/8. 2/8 is equivalent to a quarter. I can now work with that because both my denominators are 8. I now can add my numerators, so 2 plus 2 is 4. I end up with 3 and 4 over 8, but I need to simplify, and that will give me 3.5. Right, or I could do it this way, where I make both fractions into improper fractions. Okay, that would give me 9 over 4. How did I get that? Because I said 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. Same here, 8 times 1 is 8, plus 2 is 10. Okay, so that's how you would make an improper fraction from a mixed number. You take your denominator, multiply it by the whole number, add your numerator. Denominator, multiply by the whole number, add your numerator. I still can't do anything with this. I have to find a common multiple or common denominator. In this case, again, I can use 8 as my common denominator. Okay, and what I will do is, like I did earlier, I will take this one because that's the denominator that's changed, and I find an equivalent fraction. Okay, so obviously because that one is it is an improper fraction, when we find our equivalent fraction, it will also be improper. So 4 times 2 is 8, 9 times 2 is 18. I now have like denominators. Denominators are common, they are the same, and I can now add my numerators together. Okay, adding the numerators together now gives me 28 over 8. We now are going to simplify that by taking our improper fraction and making it back into a mixed number. So 28 over 8 is going to give me 3 and 4 over 8. And now again, I'm going to have to simplify, and I get 3.5. All right, so just going over it again, this is another way to do it. As you can see, we got exactly the same answer as before. It's just a different method. So what we're going to do, what we did here, was we changed both fractions because they both have whole numbers. We changed them into improper fractions. Okay, we convert them, mixed numbers with unlike denominators, convert to improper fractions first. We've converted them to improper fractions by taking our denominator, multiplying it by the whole number, and adding on the numerator. I now have to find a common denominator, which in this case again can be 8. If you've used 32, because 4 times 8 is 32, that is absolutely fine. Just remember, when you get down here, you're going to have big numbers and you will probably need to simplify quite a lot. Okay, so we found 8, we can use 8. We've got 18 over 8 and 10 over 8. They are like denominators. We can add our numerators together. We end up with 28 over 8. Okay, we then are going to simplify that back into a mixed number, so convert it back into a mixed number, which gives me 3 and 4 over 8, and then I simplify. Okay, this is also a way of simplifying, but we're converting it back into a mixed number, okay, by simplifying it, making it easier to look at, basically. Okay, let's have a look at minus. Okay, subtraction with fractions. Again, if we've got like denominators, we can just subtract our numerators. Okay, so what we did is 3 over 5 minus 2 over 5, 3 minus 2, 1 over 5. Can you see how you do not add or subtract the denominators? That denominator is a like denominator. It's almost like the name of the fraction. The name of the fraction doesn't change. In this case, the name is fifths. So 3/5 minus 2/5 gives me 1/5. Okay, think of a cake being cut up into fifths. You take 3/5 and then you give one of those fifths to somebody else. You're not changing the amount that the cake has been divided into. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so if you've got unlike denominators, we've got unlike denominators in the next example, 3 over 7 minus 2 over 5, sorry, we're going to have to find a common denominator. And here it would be 35. We've just said 7 times 5 is 35. That is the lowest common multiple or lowest common denominator. We couldn't have got anything else because there's nothing else that 7 and 5 can divide into. So we've used 35. What did we do to the 7 to get to 35? We multiplied it by 5. So then we can say 3 times 5 is 15. What did we do to the 5 to get to 35? We multiplied it by 7. So 2 times 7 is 14. We now have like denominators. Okay. Then what we can now do is simply subtract our numerators. And 15 minus 14, as we all know, is 1. Okay. We cannot simplify that. That needs to be left as is. Let's have a look now with subtraction using mixed numbers and different denominators. So there's two ways again we can do it. We can first subtract our whole numbers. 3 minus 1 is 2. Then we can find our common denominator, and in this case we can use 9 because it's 3 over 9 and 2 over 3. So 3 over 9 stays as is. 2 over 3 we need to convert. 3 times what is 9? It's times 3. So 2 times 3 is 6. Let's just go over this section another time before we go on. We've done our whole numbers first. 3 minus 1 is 2. We've looked at our denominators and realized that they are not like denominators. They're unlike. They are different. We now need to decide which one we're going to use. We know that 3 goes into 9. We can use 9 as our denominator. 3 over 9 stays 3 over 9, but 2 over 3 changes to 6 over 9. We now have like denominators, and so we can subtract them. But can we? Can we say 3 minus 6? So what we have to do is we will borrow a whole from the 2. The whole is 9 over 9, because that's what we're dealing with, 9 parts. Okay, so we will borrow the whole. You can see I've borrowed one, and there it is there. So I go 9 plus 3, because I've borrowed a whole. My whole has decreased by 1, because it's sitting over here. And then I go 9 plus 3 is 12. 12 over 9 minus 6 over 9 I can now do. Can you see how I've carried down the 1 the whole time? 12 minus 6 is 6. So it's 1 and 6 over 9. But guess what? I can simplify that to 1 and 2 over 3. Okay, so here we couldn't just subtract because actually what we've got is 3 and we have to try and take 6 away. We do have whole numbers, so we're going to borrow from the whole number. Can you see where the 9 is? There. That's the one whole number. There's the other whole number. That makes up the 2. But I had to borrow from there so that I could add on 3 so that I could take the 6 away. So 9 plus 3 is 12. 12 minus 6 is 6. And 6 over 9 can be simplified to 1 and 2/3. Okay. Or we can do it the other way like we did with the addition. We can make it into improper fractions. So 9 times 3 is 27. 27 plus 3 is 30. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 plus 2 is 5. Okay? I now find common denominator as I did there. So this side stays the same. 30 over 9 remains 30 over 9. 3 times 3 is 9. So 5 times 3 is 15. I can now subtract. 30 minus 15 gives me 15 over 9. Okay, remember your denominators stay the same. 30 minus 15 is 15 over 9. I can convert that back into a mixed number. That's going to give me 1 and 6 over 9. Do you have C on the other side? It is exactly the same. So I have to now simplify. That becomes 1 and 2 over 3. So either way, if you do it that way or you do it that way, it is going to give you the same answer. Okay? It just depends on how you prefer to work. Totally up to you. Okay? Right. Now you can practice. Here are 5 examples. I want you to pause the video. I want you to write down your examples and I want you to try and work them out on your own. And then together we will go over each one. Right. Okay, let's see how you did. Number 1 is 2 over 7 plus 3 over 4. We're going to convert our denominators so that they are the same denominators. So what I did here, I went 7 times 4 is 28. 7 times 4 is 28, so 2 times 4 will give me 8. 4 times 7 is 28, so 3 times 7 gives me 21. We now have the same denominators, and so we can add our numerators. And 8 plus 21 is going to give me 29 over 28. We can see straight away that's an improper fraction, so I need to simplify it and it becomes 1 over 29. How did you do? I hope you got that all right. Okay, if you didn't, just rewind the video a little bit and go through it again. Okay, let's look at the next one, number 2. 3/5 minus a half. Again, we've got unlike denominators. Guys, I can guarantee you that at your stage in grade 8, you're not going to get denominators that are like. So you are going to always have to find a common denominator. Okay, so again, we have to find a common denominator, and our common denominator would be 10. So have a look. 5 times 2 is 10. 3 times 2 is 6. 2 times 5 is 10. So 1 times 5 is 5. We can subtract those. We don't have anything to borrow from anyway, but 6 minus 5 is 1 over 10. Okay, can't be simplified, remains as is. Let's have a look at number 3. Okay, here we have mixed numbers. So we're going to first do it in the way that we use the whole numbers first, and then we will work with the fractions. So have a look. I've done 1 plus 2 is 3. I now find a common denominator, which is 15. 5 times 3 is 15. 5 times 3 here is 15, so 4 times 3 is 12. 3 times 5 is 15 on this side, so 2 times 5 is 10. Now we have like denominators, add them together. We're going to end up with 3 and 22 over 15. As you can see, we've got a mixed number, and in that mixed number we have an improper fraction. We definitely can't leave it like that, so it's going to give me 4 and 7 over 15 because I take out a 15 from the 22. Okay, everyone happy? Right, or you could have done it this way, where we make 1 4/5 into an improper fraction, and 2 2/3 also into an improper fraction. So what would we do? Say 5 times 1 is 5 plus 4 is 9. 3 times 2 is 6 plus 2 is 8. Let's have a look. There, we've got it. We still have unlike denominators, so we've got to work with those. So now we're going to get our common denominator is 15 to make it the same. And 5 times 3 is 15, so 9 times 3 is 27. 3 times 5 is 15, so 8 times 3 is, 8 times 5 is 40. Doubted myself there for a second. Okay, 27 plus 40 is 67. Okay, 67 over 15, it's an improper fraction. We now have to make it back to a mixed number, and that's going to give me 4 and 7 over 15. Okay, can you see? No matter which way you do it, you are going to get the same answer. Okay, just going through this one again. Remember, improper fraction, find our common denominator, add our numerators, and get back to a mixed number. Okay, right, let's have a look at number 4. Same thing, we've got whole numbers and fractions, so we've got mixed numbers to work with. We can either do the whole numbers first, which we're going to do here, or we can make them into improper fractions. But let's do the whole numbers first and see how you go. Right, 2 minus 1 is going to give me 1. 2 minus 1 is 1. We find our common denominator, which is 30 in this case. 6 times 5 is 30, so 4 times 5 is 20. 5 times 6 is 30, so 4 times 6 is 24. Oops, we have a problem because we can't take 24 away from 20. It will give us a negative number, but then it's a bit messy because we've got a whole number there to borrow from. So we're going to borrow. There's the 30 over 30. I've put it on this side this time. It doesn't really matter which side you put it. So the 30 over 30 is going to add to the 20, and you're going to take away 24. So that's going to give me 50 over 30. I can now take the 24 away. I now have 26 over 30. I can simplify that to 13 over 15. Okay, everybody get that? This is where I borrowed, took away from the 1. The 1 is 30 over 30. There is the 30 over 30. Okay, add it to the other numerator that you have on this side, and it's going to give me 50 over 30. Let's see if we do it the other way around. Okay, where we're going to make improper fractions first. All right. So now to make an improper fraction, remember we're going to say 6 times 2 is 12. 12 plus 4 is 16. 5 times 1 is 5 plus 4 is 9. Okay, there we go. 16 over 6, 9 over 5. We still don't have like denominators. We need to find a common denominator. We can use 30. 6 times 5 is 30. 16 times 5 is 80. 5 times 6 is 30, so 9 times 6 is 54. We can now go 80 minus 54. That's going to give me 26 over 30. Can you already see we're on the same track here? And that's going to give me 13 over 15 if I simplify it. Okay, everybody got it? Did you all get it right? I hope so. If you didn't and you can't figure out where you made a mistake, pause the video, rewind it a little bit, and have a look. And remember, before we get on to our last one, that if you have any queries or any questions or you don't understand anything, send an email to grade8@worksheetcloud.com and somebody will get back to you with your answer. And please, guys, remember also you can watch this video as many times as you like. I'm sure you're all on top of this because I'm sure you did this last year. Right, let's just get to the last one. 3 and 2 over 7 minus 1 and 3 over 4. Okay, again, let's do the whole numbers first. So we did 3 minus 1 is 2. 7 and 4, the common denominator is 28. I wanted to show you a trick quickly. Because if you go 7 times 4, then your numerator is actually your numerator of the first fraction times the denominator of the second fraction. So you don't even really have to think about it. You just go 2 times 4. But don't tell anybody I told you that. You need to work through the process, grade 8s. So 7 times 4 is 28. 2 times 4 is 8. See, have a look there. 4 times 7 is 28. 7 times 3 is 21. Can you see what I did? I took the denominator from the numerator from the second one, times it by the denominator of the first one. So it's almost cross multiplying. Okay, now I have got the same denominators, but I can't subtract because I need to borrow. So there we go. I've borrowed 28 over 28, and I get left with one whole number. Okay, here's the other whole number over there. Okay, can you all see that? So 8 plus 28 is going to give me 36. I now can say 36 minus 21, and that's going to give me 1 and 15 over 18. But have a look, 3 goes into 15 and into 18. So I should have 1 and 5. Oh, sorry, it's not 18, it's 28. So that is actually its simplest form. Sorry, guys, I got mixed up. All right, let's go the other way. We are now going to use improper fractions. We're going to convert to improper fractions. So it'll be 7 times 3 plus 2. So it's 21. 21 plus 2 is 23. 4 times 1 is 4. Plus 3 gives me 7. Okay, so I've got 23 minus 7. I need to make this into a common denominator. Again, it's 28. So 23 times 4 is 92 if we use the shortcut. 7 times 7 is 49. I can now say 92 minus 49, and I'm going to end up with 43 over 28. It's an improper fraction. I need to make it a mixed number, which is going to give me 1 and 15 over 28. Can you see? My answers are exactly the same. Right, guys, wonderful work. Remember, if there's anything you need to ask or you weren't sure about, just go back in the video and go over the explanation again. Thank you for joining me today in WorksheetCloud, grade 8 maths. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. Next time around, we're going to be looking at multiplication and division. And don't forget to keep in touch if there's anything you want to ask or comment about. Thank you so much, guys, and see you next time.